Okay, here we're going to take our sort of reference percents and we're going to use them to figure out these application type problems. This first one says there are 13 children in the preschool class. 100% of the children are served breakfast, all of them, and lunch. Find the number of children who are served both meals. Well, again, because we talked about 100% as being all of them, and because there are 13 children in this preschool class, if 100% or all of them eat breakfast and lunch, then that would be 13 children. It's not anything that's meant to be tricky or difficult. It's just meant to make sure that you understand what 100% really means. This next one says last year we had 210 employees. This year we have 200% of that number. How many employees do we have this year? Well, if you'll remember, our 200% is the same thing as doubling or 2 times the whole. Well, our whole amount was 210. And if we're going to double that to represent 200%, then that would be 420. So that means that this year we have 420 employees. That's double what we had last year, or 200%. Let's try another one. This one says Jacob owes $755 for tuition. Now, financial aid will pay for 50% of that cost. Financial aid will pay blank. Well, again, we talked about 50%. We talked about that as being half. So if his tuition is $755 and financial aid will pay half of that, we need to divide that by 2. So 2 will go into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 would be 6. When we subtract, we drop our next digit and continue on. 2 will go into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 would be 14. We're going to subtract and continue on, dropping our digit and then continuing on. 2 will go into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 would be 14. Subtract. Now, we don't want to leave this with a remainder because we're talking about money here. So let's put in our decimal and add a 0. Don't forget to line your decimal up. So now 2 will go into 10 5 times with now no remainder. So it looks like that financial aid is going to pay $377.50, and then he would pay $377.50, so that they're each paying half. All right, last one here. This one says only 10% of 8,200 commuters are carpooling to work. How many commuters carpool? Well, when we talked about 10% earlier, we talked about it as being the exact same thing as 1/10. Or another way of looking at it is we could move the decimal 1 place to the right. I'm sorry, to the left. Drew it correctly, said it incorrectly. Moving our decimal 1 place to the left. So if we start out with 8,200, our decimal point naturally falls at the end of that last 0. So if I want 10% or a tenth, all we have to do is move our decimal 1 place to the left. So 820 commuters would be 10% of 8,200. You can also use this idea very quickly and easily to figure tips in restaurants. Generally 15% is considered like the norm, but if you had, let's say, a bill that was $37, then you can figure 10% very quickly by moving your decimal 1 place to the left. That would be $3.70. And then if you wanted to say, oh, they had very good service, so I want 20%. Well, if this is 10%, we could double that to get our 20%. So somewhere around $7 to $7.40 would be 15 to 20%.